Hey everybody, Chris here. Welcome to another episode of Cardboard Dragon Reviews. Today we're taking a look at this enormous game that's on the table right now. This is Eldritch Horror, which is a cooperative game for 1 to 8 players, recommended for ages 14 and up, and it takes between 2 and 4 hours to play. So this game is set in a universe that has a lot of ideas from H.P. Lovecraft, who's a famous author, at least nowadays, most probably best known for his ideas with Cthulhu. So we are taking on the role of investigators, and we are going to try and prevent a great old one from awakening. And that could be Cthulhu, but there are 3 others in the game we will take on. We're trying to stop them from awakening by doing battle with other monsters and gaining some information and solving some mysteries so we can prevent them from waking up. But even if they do wake up, we might be able to do one final battle, one last hurrah to lay them to rest and save the world. But we're going to be going on adventures, we're going to be having expeditions, and we're going to be put through some serious mental and physical strain. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a quick overview of how this game is played and then a review of the game, and that'll be this video. And then I hope to do 2 more. One will be an in-depth video on how to play this game, and then another will be a full solo playthrough of this game. But those are in other videos. This will just be a quick one with my quick thoughts and a quick overview. So let me go ahead and show you how Eldritch Horror is played. Alright, so let's just take a look at all this stuff that's out here. See, we have a ton of cards out here, and I have the Forsaken Lore expansion. So that just means there's more cards on the table here. There's not really any difference with those different with the expansion, other than there's an extra great old one to fight if you so choose. Here I have a Plano box filled with a bunch of bits that helps keep things organized. We can see just the scope of this game. It's massive. So what are we trying to do in this game? We need to take care of one of the 4 great old ones that comes with the base game. Here we have Azathoth. Now each great old one has a different amount of time on the top. That's 15 for Azathoth. That will count down as we're instructed by cards during the game. And when it hits 0, our friend here is going to wake up and do something terrible, which is on the back of this card. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but every great old one has a different thing that they do when they wake up. So he also has some special abilities and different things instructing us how to set up for Azathoth. Now we are going to be playing the role of one of 12 investigators. Here we have Trish. Each investigator has a unique amount of hit points and sanity points that they're going to be losing throughout the game. Usually, if you lose all your hit points, you become crippled. If you lose all your mental health points or sanity points, you go insane. So each character has unique actions and special abilities that only they have, and they also sometimes start with some special equipment, like Trish starts with a 45 automatic gun here. But the most important stuff is down here. These are the stat categories that you're going to be tested on throughout the game. So certain things are going to happen in the game that might test your will or your strength or your observation or your influence or your knowledge of lore. And when those come up, you take a look at what number you have, and that's how many dice you roll. So if Trish here had to check her lore, she only gets to roll 1 die. And when you do a test, you need to roll a success. Amongst all your die, typically just 1 success. And successes are 5s and 6s, so not weighted in your favor. But you might have items, like the automatic here, that increase your stats when you're doing certain things. Like if Trish was fighting, she would get a +3 to her strength. So she would actually roll 6 dice when she's fighting. And you can get more items throughout the game to help build your character up. Here we have a store right now. And you can also interact with certain things on the board. Certain spaces, if you can succeed in encounters, will boost up your stats permanently. So again, if she had to do a lore check, she gets 1 die, and we roll the 1, we would fail. So something bad would probably happen because we failed the check. If we passed, something pretty good would probably happen to us. So a lot of this game is trying to mitigate the dice rolls and giving yourself the best chance of succeeding. So basically we're going to be running around the board here. We're going to be traversing the entire globe, basically hunting for, usually it's these clue markers here that we're hunting for. And typically we have to trade in a certain amount of these to solve one of the 3 mysteries the Great Old One has given us in order to win the game. We need to solve all 3 to win the game. Now, there are going to be lots of obstacles in the way. One such obstacle are these monsters, and there are going to be a ton of these coming out, and they're going to flood through into our plane of existence through these gates, which we will try to close, but we might succeed, we might not. But these monsters are going to be out here. They're going to be causing us pain and suffering. In the monsters, there's a ton of them. They fill up this bag here. There's a whole bunch of them in there, and they're not all unique, but there's a lot of different ones in there. They have a different amount of stats. They have hit points. They have a number of horror that they'll cause us just by seeing them, so they might drive us insane just by us seeing them. They also do some damage to us, and they also have special abilities. So pretty neat that they're all unique like that. And then there are epic versions of monsters that come out because of certain cards triggering on the board. And these are even worse. These are even stronger versions of monsters that have some pretty wild abilities sometimes. So we're going to be looking at the mystery cards given to us that are going to detail what we're trying to do. We only get one of them at a time, so that's basically our mission. Like, for instance, here, this is the reason the epic monster came out when I set this game up. The green flame. When this card enters play, spawn that epic monster on a random space. And if that monster is dead, we solve the mystery. So that would be what we're trying to do right now, is kill that monster. And unfortunately, we have this elderly gentleman here who is not particularly good at fighting, has no firearms, has no weapons. He's going to need some help, probably, to deal with that. So after you're done walking around on your turn, you might be buying things, you might be trading, you might have to rest to get some health back. You'll have an encounter. So that's when you might fight the monster if there's some on your space, or you might try to close the gate if there's a gate on your space. But if there's not, you're going to be interacting with the location. Or if there's a clue in your space, you'll probably want to be interacting with that. But we can see here Trish is on Istanbul, and we see Istanbul has this kind of reddish, orangish outline around it. So we would take a look at the different decks of cards we have, and we can see here there's one with a reddish, orangish outline on it. That would tell us that that's the deck we want to draw from, or we might draw from the general deck, which we could just draw because she's in a city. If we happen to be on the expedition space, which right now is in the Amazon, we would draw that. But let's take a look at Norman here. He is in Arkham, so we would draw a green card or a black card if you wanted to, but generally you would want to draw the color of the city you're in because there's better rewards. So let's spoil one of these and let's see what happens here. So it lists a bunch of cities, but we're in Arkham, so we only focus on that. And you would read this out loud. A fortune teller in Independence Square warns you of dire events. You try to interpret her words, and what this means is check your lore. So we take a look at Norman. He has 3 in his lore. We would roll 3 dice, looking for at least 1 5 or 1 6. And we got a 6, so we pass. If you pass, you discern that you ultimately survive, gain a blessed condition. If we would have failed, we would gain a paranoia condition. So we would go through this deck. It says we gain a blessed condition, which is one of the greatest things that can happen to you in this game. Go through this deck, and we find the first blessed condition card that we come across, but we don't look at the back, because sometimes things are going to happen where we're going to have to look at the back, but we don't know what copy of the blessed card we had or what bad thing is going to happen to us, because there are multiple copies of the blessed card in the deck that have different backs to them. So after we have our encounters, we're going to have to draw a card from what's called the Mythos deck, and that's usually going to lower the Doom track, spin the Omen track around there up in the corner, and bad things are going to happen, monsters are going to come, but also more clues might spawn onto the board, and that's going to drive the game. We lose in a few ways if the Mythos deck runs out, or if the old one awakens and we all die after that, or if there's certain cards that are called rumors that will come out on the board, and those might trigger the end of the game for us. The only way we win, we got to get 3 mysteries solved, and if the old one wakes up, there might be a final mystery we have to solve, like, for instance, killing that great old one who just woke up. So that's been a very brief overview of how Eldritch Horror plays, not Arkham Horror. So let me go ahead and give you my final thoughts on the game. Okay, final thoughts for Eldritch Horror. So this is not really a sequel, but it's a follow-up to Arkham Horror, which is another popular game from Fantasy Flight. Goes in the same universe as Arkham Horror. I've never played Arkham Horror, and 2 main reasons why. One was the length that the game takes, which is longer than Eldritch Horror. And the second was the rule set, which very much intimidated me, and still to this day intimidates me. And Eldritch Horror appears to be simpler than Arkham Horror in that respect. So I can't really compare the gameplay of the two because I've never played Arkham Horror. One day I would like to, but it seems like very much an investment to get into that game. But it might be worth it. There's so many expansions for it. There's so much content there. It would be cool to try. But as for Eldritch Horror, I will start with what I don't like about this game. I have seen some other games like Elder Sign, for instance, and it seems like some of the artwork is just reused across games in the universe, like Arkham Horror universe, which is kind of disappointing that they just reuse the artwork. Aside from that, that's my only real complaint about this game. Now, there are people who are going to really dislike this game because of the dice and the randomness of the dice. You could possibly get everything in place that you want to and roll terribly. Or, you're stuck doing some kind of a check for a stat that you have nothing in and roll terribly. And the opposite could happen though too. You could do, say, a lore check and have really low lore but still get the success on the dice. So it's kind of a give and take, but that's kind of the point of the game, is that this is terrible. You don't want to be rolling dice without re-rolls or without items that are going to allow you to roll more of the dice, because the dice aren't weighted in your favor. It's a 1 in 3 chance to get a success on a dice, assuming you're not cursed. So that's the game. It's trying to build up your character, trying to get items, trying to get stat improvements to try and mitigate the dice and increase your chances of success. As you get to play this game, you'll notice that certain people are better at doing certain things. There's certain spots you might want people to sit in during the game. For instance, Charlie Kane, who's a character who's very high in influence, but very weak at attacking monsters or fighting monsters, might want to go to Tokyo, which typically is used to defeat monsters. But the majority of the Tokyo deck relates to influence. He's high in influence, so through using his influence, he can use that to defeat monsters. So those are things you have to keep in mind, and you'll learn. And it's all about trying to mitigate this chance. That's the point of the game. The chance will always be there. And you have to accept that when you come into this. You also have to accept that this game is going to beat the snot out of you. And there's nothing you can really do about it. You can try to mitigate as best as you can, but sometimes things are going to happen that are just terrible to you. And there are very few good cards that give you things in this game. It's usually bad thing after bad thing. And the game is managing those disasters while working towards the larger problem of the Elder God who's going to wake up at who knows when. There are still 2 Elder Gods I haven't been able to beat. Azathoth and Yig, who's from Forsaken Lore. And I haven't got to play the new expansion yet, so I can't really comment on that either. That's called the Mountains of Madness. But this game is a 10 out of 10 for me. If I had to pick my favorite board game, this would probably be it. I really enjoy the cooperative nature of this. I really enjoy the planning, and I love the story. There's so much flavor text in this, and you need to read the flavor text when you're giving out the expedition cards, or the encounter cards, I should say, to people. And it paints a very grim picture, and there's always this ever-present sense of impending doom. Things are just continuously going bad for you, and it paints this really cool story with a really cool theme. At least to me, this theme is super cool. I like H.P. Lovecraft's work. I love horror movies. I've seen a lot of these ideas elsewhere, and they appeal to me. So in a sense, I'm predisposed to like this game, and really any game with a similar theme. So keep that in mind too. But just a sense of building up your character and slowly seeing them go insane, or slowly seeing them become crippled or paranoid or broken bones or whatever happens to them. It's just cool to see that progression over time, and maybe you'll be able to get something that'll help them through that. Maybe you'll be able to get a bottle of alcohol so they don't go more insane. Things like that. I love the items. I love the interaction between players and communicating the plans. This game is just fantastic, but you have to understand what you're getting yourself into with the dice. These are always present. This is what drives the game. This is what you need to be concerned about. That's why all the cards are here, are to help you mitigate what happens here. So that's about all I have to say on Eldritch Horror. It is a long game. 2 to 4 hours. I have played games that are shorter than that. I've never played a 4-hour game, even with 4 people, but I've never played more than 4 people before. 3 hours is the longest I played this game for. I cannot imagine playing this game with more than 4 people. Or at least 4 characters. There's just so much going on, and there would be a lot of downtime reading 8 cards out to 8 different people for this game. So I would say, if possible, you probably want to stick to 4 players or less. I often play this game with just one other person, and we usually take 2 people each, and that makes things different for us. So yeah, overall, this is a fantastic game. One of my favorites. 10 out of 10. But you need to know what you're getting yourself into. This game is not for everybody, because of the length, because of the complexity, and because of the dice, which are probably going to frustrate some people who don't like that level of luck in the game. But that's the point of the game, is trying to mitigate that luck and mitigate the disasters that happen to you as a result. So this has been Chris for Cardboard Dragon Reviews, and I will try to get a full explanation video of this game out. I will also try and do a full playthrough of this game. So check out my channel for those. Please subscribe, please like, please check out my other videos. Leave me any thoughts or comments you have, and until next time, keep your dice on the table.